Karen didn't hate barking. She hated being ignored. My dog, Max, is a golden retriever with anxiety. He doesn't bark at mailmen or squirrels or thunder. He barks at shadows. He barks when the wind changes direction. He barks when he's not sure whether you're coming or going. Most people, they understand. Karen filed a noise complaint twice. The first time, I got a polite letter from the HOA. The second time, I got a visit from animal control. Max was deemed overstimulated. I was told to manage his behavior. Karen watched from across the street, arms folded, expression smug. She didn't wave. Karen never waved. Instead, she left a laminated copy of the county's noise ordinance in my mailbox, highlighted, annotated, and underlined with what I swear was red lipstick. No note, no signature, but she had the audacity to tape a milk bone to the envelope. "I'm not the bad guy," she told a neighbor later, loud enough for me to hear. "Some people just shouldn't have pets if they can't train them." That was the moment I stopped trying to reason with her. That was the moment I started teaching Max a new trick. A simple command, one word, Karen, and every time I said it, Max barked. Loud, proud, joyful. It was the first time his barking had purpose. And I was just getting started. Karen lived directly across the street, in a house that looked like it had been staged for an open house every day for 10 years. White shutters, plastic hydrangeas, porch chairs no one ever sat in. It didn't matter the season. It was always too clean, like it dared the wind to mess it up. I moved in last spring, just after my divorce. It was supposed to be a fresh start. Me, Max, and a little two-bedroom with a backyard. I worked remotely, drank too much coffee, and spent most mornings walking Max in circles while listening to true crime podcasts. The first time I met Karen, she was crouched on her lawn spraying weed killer onto a single dandelion like it had personally insulted her. "New here?" she asked without looking up. "Yeah, just moved in." She finally stood, sized me up like she was checking for HOA violations just by eye contact. "Dog looks jumpy," she said. "Just anxious," I smiled. "He's sweet." She pursed her lips. "That's what they all say, until they bite." That was our introduction. Things didn't improve from there. Max wasn't even a problem. Not really. He barked occasionally when a garbage truck screeched by too fast, or when the neighbor's cat strutted along the fence like it owned the place. But he never barked without reason. Karen, however, needed a reason. The first complaint came 2 weeks in a knock on my door at 7:30 a.m. She was in full makeup, pearls on, holding a clipboard, and a passive-aggressive smile. "Just letting you know," she said, "that the barking woke my husband. He works nights. Very disruptive." I blinked. "I'm so sorry. What time was that?" 5:15. I checked my camera later. There had been no barking at 5:15. There was, however, a sprinkler malfunction that sent a sharp hiss across the yard, and Karen stepping outside in slippers to shake her fist at the sky. The second complaint was official. A typed letter taped to my door, signed by her and 2 other neighbors, both of whom later apologized, saying they didn't want to be involved but felt pressured. The third was a voicemail left on the HOA hotline. I only heard it later because someone, probably Mr. Feldman from next door, who'd taken to slipping me "hang in there," glances forwarded it. In it, Karen's voice was syrupy and sharp. "I'm concerned for the safety of the neighborhood. There's a dog that's clearly unstable. Its owner doesn't seem to care. I'm not saying it's dangerous, but you know how these things escalate." It felt like a threat, like she was setting the stage for something worse. I started keeping Max inside more. Shorter walks, curtains drawn. I even tried a bark collar. It made him more anxious. I cried more than I'd like to admit, but Karen didn't let up. She told other neighbors I was combative, that I had emotional problems, that I was one bad day away from animal hoarding. And suddenly, people stopped making eye contact. My fresh start had become a daily psychological siege. But Karen didn't know something very important about me. I'm patient, and I'm petty. And I was about to make barking personal. Karen didn't just want quiet. She wanted obedience. And when I didn't give her either, she did what all good suburban tyrants do. She rewrote the story. First came the whispers. It started with the mom 2 houses down she used to wave when I passed with Max. One day she didn't. The next day, she crossed the street entirely. A week later, I saw her chatting with Karen by her mailbox, their heads tilted like synchronized clocks. Then came the next door posts. Anonymous, of course. Vague but unmistakable, concerned about rising noise levels from certain pets on our street. Anyone else notice aggressive barking near the east sidewalk lately? One particular dog seems to be triggered by everything. Unsafe? She never mentioned names. She didn't have to. Max had become infamous. and I'd become invisible? I tried inviting a few neighbors over for coffee. No one responded. I volunteered to help with the block garage sale. They had enough hands already. I offered to help repaint the community bench. Karen herself replied and said, maybe focus on managing your own home first. And the worst part? The HOA started siding with her. I received an official warning for failure to control a nuisance pet. The board cited multiple neighbor complaints, though they wouldn't say who. I knew. We all knew. But Karen played her part so well, never quite direct, always technically polite, always just concerned. I saw her smile at the mail carrier, offer lemonade to the landscapers. She was everyone's charming watchdog, except I knew better. I knew what she was behind the powder foundation and passive smirks, a manipulator with a martyr complex. She controlled perception like some kind of neighborhood politician, positioning herself as the victim of my recklessness. Me. The woman who cried when her dog trembled during fireworks. The woman who left work meetings early to make sure Max got his calming chews on schedule. And still, she painted me as unstable. I started to believe it. I slept less. I talked less. My house grew quieter, not by choice, but because I started believing that existing too loudly would trigger her wrath. She hadn't even needed to say my name. She'd erased it. But that was the thing. Karen thought silence was victory. What she didn't know, what she could never anticipate, was that the silence wasn't surrender. It was setup. And while she was busy rehearsing her next concerned neighbor speech, I was teaching Max one single word. I'd say it was sweetness. Reward him with a treat. Let him associate it with joy. Karen. At first, it was just a tilt of the head, then a curious wag, then one crisp, clean bark, then another. It took 2 weeks. By the end, Max barked on command only when he heard her name, and I made sure he heard it often. In the morning, I'd stand on my porch with coffee, wave across the street, and coo, "Good morning, Max. Say hi to Karen." Woof. She flinched. The first time, she tried to ignore it. The third time, she called animal control again. But by the fifth, even they started laughing. Karen loved the illusion of power. But power without control? That's chaos. And I was done playing by her rules. I never yelled, never cursed, never raised my voice. Instead, I weaponized joy. Every morning, I took Max for longer walks right past her property line. I wore earbuds, but never played anything. I wanted to hear every exaggerated sigh, every muttered insult. I trained Max to sit politely, wag his tail, and look adorable, until I said her name. Who's a good boy? Who's my smart Max? Who's a Karen? Woof. It wasn't even aggressive. Just a clear, bright bark, friendly, precise, like a punch in pearls. She tried calling animal control again, but by then they knew. After her third concerned citizen report, I asked them calmly if they'd like to see the video. Yes, I had video. I set up a security cam with audio pointed at my own front yard. Every time Karen walked by and Max barked at her name, I documented it. Every time she hissed, "Control your mutt," I saved the footage. Every time she tried to provoke him, stomping her foot, hissing under her breath, I clipped it, and I sent it all to the HOA. Not as a complaint, as a pattern of harassment. Their reply was swift and bland, as HOA replies always are. "We take community tension seriously. Thank you for your documentation." But I knew it rattled her, because 2 days later, she removed her American flag mailbox decal, the one that said Neighborhood Watch Captain. And the week after that, the next door post stopped. I could have ended it there. I probably should have. But I didn't, because Karen had humiliated me, isolated me, made me question my own decency. So I decided to let the neighborhood see who she really was, not with evidence, with performance. I started a TikTok account, nothing flashy, just a few clips of Max barking when I said, "Karen." The caption? "My dog learned the name of the woman who keeps calling animal control on us." It went viral in 3 days. Comments poured in. "Protect Max at all costs." "Tell me you live in ho hell without telling me. Why is every Karen exactly like this?" Justice barked and it was glorious. Neighbors began to notice. One teen from down the street, someone who hadn't made eye contact in months, gave me a thumbs up while biking past. Another left a handwritten note in my mailbox. "Your dog is awesome. So are you." Even Mr. Feldman waved again. I'd cracked her shell not by shouting, not by confronting, but by laughing. Louder than her control, brighter than her fake civility. And Max? Max was thriving. His anxiety dipped. His tail wagged more. He'd bark with this gleeful rhythm, not angry, not panicked, just empowered. He knew he'd done something good. He didn't understand the drama, but he understood one thing. When I said Karen, it meant be proud. And for once, I was too. I knew she'd snap. It was just a matter of when. The video of Max had reached over 3 million views by the second week. A local radio station even replayed the audio clip Max's cheerful wolf on cue during a morning segment about petty revenge done right. Karen didn't have TikTok, but her niece did. I know this because the niece showed up at my door, uninvited, with a flushed face and a sheepish smile. "Hi," she said. "I'm related to her. I just wanted to say thanks." "For what?" I asked. "For making her finally shut up." And then she handed me a muffin. No basket. Just one perfect chocolate chip muffin. It tasted like victory. 3 days later, Karen cracked. It was 7:42 a.m., right after Max's morning bark routine. I'd stepped out with coffee, said cheerfully, "Good morning, Max. Say hi to Karen." And sure enough, woof. The garage across the street slammed open. Karen stormed across the lawn, wearing a silk robe in rage. She didn't even bother with slippers. "You think this is funny?" she shrieked. He blinked. "Excuse me? You're harassing me? You trained your dog to attack me?" I took a step back, not in fear, but performance. "Max hasn't left the porch. You think you're clever?" she spat. "Posting videos? Making me a joke? I've lived on this street longer than you've been alive. That must be exhausting," I said. She pointed a trembling finger at Max, who tilted his head and barked once, cheerfully, predictably. "I'll sue," she said. "You'll lose," I said. Other neighbors had come out now, pretending to check mail, water lawns, stretch. But their eyes were locked on us. She saw it, too, that she was no longer the conductor of the street, that the power had shifted, that no one was jumping to her defense. She sputtered something under her breath and turned back, retreating with fury in every stomp. Her robe caught on her garden gnome. It spun sideways and fell. I didn't laugh. I just looked at Max. "Good boy," I whispered. The next day, I found a folded note on my welcome mat. No envelope, no name. "You win. You're cruel." I smiled. Because I wasn't cruel. I was calm. And calm beats controlling every single time. Karen didn't speak to me again. Not after the confrontation. Not after the note. Not even when she passed me in her car, windows up, eyes forward like I didn't exist. But the neighborhood changed. The people who used to pretend they didn't see me, they started waving again. The mom with the stroller? She stopped me one morning to ask what treats I used for Max. "Mr. Feldman even invited me to a barbecue. 'Bring your dog,' he said. 'We'll make room.' And Karen? Karen withdrew. Her porch, once overflowing with holiday decor and surveillance-friendly flower pots, slowly emptied. Her lawn started to yellow at the edges. The perfectly lined-up garbage bins, left crooked, like even she had given up on order. The control she'd clung to for years over the HOA, the sidewalks, the soundscape of the block was gone. Not in one sweeping rebellion, but in quiet, persistent refusal. No one had to say it out loud. She lost. And Max? He still barks at her name. Not as often. Not with anger. Just with memory. If I say it, he perks up, tail wagging like he remembers the game. I still say it sometimes, softly, smiling, not to provoke. Not anymore, but to remind myself that fear can be trained, that control can be unlearned, that even the loudest Karen on the block can't win against patience, persistence, and a golden retriever with a bark like a gavel. These days, Max sleeps deeper. He walks straighter. He doesn't flinch at every creak in the fence. And me? I open the curtains. I leave the windows open. I let my dog be loud when he wants to be. And I let myself breathe without apology, because this wasn't just about a barking dog. It was about reclaiming space. And in the end, we did. Together.